Yeah, it's all muscle.
Muscle Fitness. That's a pretty good one, actually. Are we on or?
Let's go. Yep.
Okay, what episode is this, though?
53.
Okay, 53. All right, so we're back. Episode 53. It is Olympia week, and we have our special guest. By a lot of fan requests, the real deal, Chris Cormier, my nemesis in a sense.
Nemesis and
But he was a mentor to me, which a lot of people don't realize. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Welcome to the show, dude.
yeah, plot twists. Yeah, thank you, brother. Thank you, man.
Has anyone ever called you a mentor like that?
Of course.
I've helped
Fucking with you.
make a lot of legends.
He's helped.
I'm the legend maker. That's
I
what
think Chris is honestly one of the most helpful, and I'm going to talk a little bit about how we actually became. You know, I give a lot of my success to Chris because he actually told me things that a competitor really wouldn't tell someone that maybe was going to be a competitor against them, you know, with changing the body.
You don't get the credit for how many people you've helped out.
Yeah, which is unfortunate, but I mean, Jay, Dexter, people like that, Melvin, I've personally helped, make them better because I knew some things that would be very helpful that they wasn't doing. I could tell they wasn't doing it.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is like I started as a teenager, man. I looked at you in the books, and I actually got to see you win your pro card at the 93 USA, and, that was a show that I don't think people expected you to win.
Right. Not even my training partners.
Who were at the time, Rico McClinton and Flex Wheeler.
Yeah, they did. They was, cause I was actually training with mostly Gravy Stridham.
Okay.
At the time. So Gary was in my corner big time, and he was like, he's the one who told me, he said, man, Rico and them didn't think you should win. I thought you had a better physique than second place. So
who Mike Francois got
Mike
second.
Francois. Yeah. So I mean, I get it. He was a big cat. I just thought my physique was a lot more busier looking than his, way better shape and everything, and my posing outposed the guy and everything. But I think he had got hurt like 6 weeks out. But I always said, you know what, he's still going to do the show. I'm not going to let out the gas off the pedal thinking it's going to be, a lesser of a competition as far as quality and who's in it. So I think the whole top 6 or 7 all went pro after that competition.
It was the crazy. We're going to get into like some of your competition because you competed in what we consider the golden ages of bodybuilding. I mean, I know people talk about Schwarzenegger's days, but that was the real cream of the crop where, we talk about this year's Olympia and how deep it is, right? But it's only deep.
We're about to have a special guest.
Okay. But it's only deep I think in the range of the back, like from 5th to whatever, 10th or whatever. So we just had Mr. Olympia walk in the house right now.
There he is. What's up?
What's up, man? You doing all right? What's up, guys?
We got everybody over here for the podcast.
What's up, man? Good?
What's up, bro?
Hey, man. How you doing? All right? Good to see you guys.
We're out filming a
What's
podcast.
Up, man?
I was lost, so sorry I had to take a break.
No.
Yeah, no, you're good.
You good, brother?
Get you on here one of these days. You got to make some time.
How's everything? You got shoulder pads on.
Chris wants you to get in front of the camera and pose.
Give us a little something, man. A forearm or something.
Hairs Abdullah won't know.
Yeah, it won't go. Yeah, this is going to be after the show.
Got to get Patrick in here, too. Got to get him so you can get him on camera. Come around.
Come say hello, man. Damn, dude.
Say hi to everybody. Come on, man. This is your first Olympia, right?
Good to see you, man. Yeah. Congratulations.
I didn't get a chance to meet you, man.
Yes, watch the camera.
How's everything going? You liking it out there?
You guys training or what are you doing?
Good, man. Good to meet you, man. Yeah, man.
So, for those who don't know, we have.
Oh, you like it? Yeah, good.
Vader coming out?
Brandon Curry. He's coming out. So,
Thursday?
Pause for a second.
Wednesday?
And we're back.
All right, so we were talking a little bit about, your competitive days and how deep it was. But, you started back in Palm Springs. I know you migrated to Venice. And, I only remember really, I hear the stories, from Chris Aceto. And I know you stayed with Chris in Maine before when you won the NOC that year.
Yep.
And, in your come up, like you were one of these pros that was able to come right in and basically make an impact, right? I mean, what'd you land in your first Mr. Olympia?
I was sixth.
Which is
sixth
amazing,
place,
right?
yeah.
I mean, but back then, how many competitors were in the Olympia?
Back then it was
Like 12 or 15?
No, it was more. It was more like between 15, 20, something like that.
Nothing like this year where it's like 35 qualified, which is nuts, right?
Yeah. So that's the thing. It's gonna be a tight top 12, and then it's gonna be falling off after that. But I think the first 12 of these guys gonna be pretty tough.
I mean, you've been talking a lot because I know you work with Primetime Muscle is your show that you're on frequently. I know you've been on a lot of podcasts, and I think now that, talking amongst your peers of like Milos and who else is on, like, I mean, you had everyone on, there, right? Did Marcus Rule come on with you on?
Yeah, that's the one with Dennis.
Okay.
On the Dennis James podcast.
The Muscle and Fitness?
Yeah, it's Muscle and Fitness, but it's the Menace podcast. That's when I'm on weekly with that one. So that one gets kind of heated because Milo's on there. He likes
opinions,
right? Yeah,
right?
he likes to chat it up, talk a lot. So he's it's kind of funny though because we kind of just make fun of each other on there. And
I know, but the thing is, Chris, is like you never really went toe to toe with Milos. Like he was kind of not in the mix of the top guys always, right? Or was he in some of the European tours?
Well, I had to beat him because he was in all the shows, so he was just like someone had to be had to just make sure you was dominate or beat him close enough to where it's not going to be like going to keep comparing you with him.
So did he ever beat you? Because he always says
he beat me. His only show he ever beat me in was he's beat me in probably a couple, but I think the one that made the biggest difference was when I went to Canada for my that
Canada
show.
Pro.
And it was the week before.
Yeah, the NOC. Did he beat you there?
Yeah, he beat me there. But
what did you get?
Let me tell you what happened. Let me tell you what happened.
So did you go? Hold on. So you went from Canada to Chris Aceto's, and then Chris Aceto's to New York, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I went there, and I got there late. I was in the customs for like 5 hours. And I was pissed.
Why does this not surprise me?
I was fucking pissed, dude. I wanted to go home. I was like, fuck this country, man. I was like, I'm out of here. I don't want to go.
What did they hold you for?
Just giving too many questions about my past and fucking this and that and what am I doing here and this and that. And it was like, everything was like just thrown into, I just couldn't even think straight after that. Then I didn't even shave until that Friday night. And when I shaved that Friday night, it totally like screwed up my skin.
Made you hold water because one thing that us competitors like you can't shave like very close to the show because it does irritate your skin.
And I used a razor at that time. I usually use shears, but I used a razor that time. So I remember the night before I was like super late, like 4 a.m. I'm shaving. Gave me enough time to be good and blurry in the morning. And him and Mike Monterazzo beat me in that show. And I knew I was going to go up against him the next week.
So you were third in the contest?
Mm-hmm. I was third, and I didn't never like going to Canada to compete, especially after I did it one more time. I regret it every time I went to Canada because I'm like, they're just too shitty at the border.
Yeah, they always gave you a hard time. They always gave me a hard time, man.
Yeah, dude. So that was but then when I went to the Arnold, which I have some of it on video that I had my own camera at that time. Just walking from the Beacon Theater over to the, next door to the main theater where, the hotel was there, the Beacon Hotel. So just having all the fans out there, I mean, that was just like a rush. I remember that was being like the first time I got like a big rush of like the fans. Because, back in the day when you would turn pro, it's still getting out the word to people, actually knowing that you turned pro, all that stuff was still like, months down the road. Because if you didn't call into Gold's Gym and get the results, you're not going to know shit.
Yeah, kind of funny. Remember they had the list at the front desk at the Mr. Olympia? Did you know that?
List.
I knew people would call back then, but I always had to wait for the magazines because I was in the Midwest and we didn't have a gym there. Or you would call Gold's.
Call front desk.
Call and ask.
Yeah,
I thought I was so special, bro, because after I went out and stayed in 93, the year I probably met you for the first time, I was able to have a connection to people that I met at Ed Connor's house, and I'd be like, hey, there's still someone out there. I'm going to call and find out who won the Mr. Olympia,
Yeah.
And I felt so cool because I was the guy in my gym back in Massachusetts to be like, oh, so-and-so, Dorian Yates won. Of course, he won every year, right? And then it was like, all the placings because, it was in Helsinki, the 92.
When did you start figuring out, like, trying to be interested in who won the Olympia?
Well, I mean, it was kind of like when I met Chris. I mean, I started training in 91, and I mean, I picked up books when Chris Dickerson won, so that was like 82. So I had magazines from my sister's boyfriend had magazines, and that's where I actually started looking at the guys. And then
so you started.
I started in 90. I started in 91. I graduated high school in 91, and I started training. And then Chris Aceto linked up with me like in 92.
You didn't train for football?
I was training I trained a little bit, but it was like just bench press and squat. It was just power training, like one rep stuff.
Okay.
But I did concrete in my family business. So, for me, like I didn't really start catching on until Chris Aceto like talked about, because his wife at the time was Laura Cravell, right?
Right.
And I know you stayed at his beach house in Maine, and I was driving up there every week. I started seeing him like 6 months into my training. And he's the one that got me to come out for the USA, and he was helping Francois at the time.
Yeah.
And if you remember,
And he always thinks Francois beat me.
Well, no, he didn't. He was unbelievable though for an amateur, Chris. Like all those guys were. I mean, you, Craig Titus, Dennis Newman was 7th in that show.
Even what's his name? What's the black guy?
I mean, Ken Castagnoli was in it. I'm trying to think who else. Who was third in the show?
The one dude took third, and he cramped up.
Not Edgar Fletcher.
Edgar Fletcher.
He was really good. Remember Edgar Fletcher?
That's the dude I thought was gonna have the biggest.
He was just. I mean, what happened? That's like what happened to that guy, right?
Kind of just
What
fell
year
out
was that
after
Nationals when it was all of you guys?
No, it was in the USA. 93.
USA, 93. But Edgar was also in the 91 Nationals. I did the 91 Nationals.
And what'd you finish there?
I was 7th.
Was that the best? Which one was the best? Was that when Paul DeMeo was in it?
Paul DeMeo, Flex.
Who won it?
Kevin won.
Kevin Lamb, that's right.
But I knew Kevin was going to win because I went to check out the weigh-ins, and I had to check in, and then Flex thought he was going to win it. Mm-hmm. And then I went back. I saw Kevin walk through there with a long-ass ponytail and his traps hanging out of his
cut shirt.
He had the
what we used to wear all the time.
Everybody had that.
The T. Michael.
If you didn't have that, then you wasn't cool.
With the string tank top.
So his trap was sticking out.
But you knew because he was he won the juniors or something, or
he won
was
the
second,
juniors.
or maybe he was second to DeMeo, I think.
But yeah, it took second to DeMeo.
And then everyone was talking about all this kid from Maryland because he just popped up, right?
Because that was his first year competing that same year in 91.
Yeah.
So he went from a local show
to the juniors.
Yeah. And then he did the national turn pro, won his first pro show, I think in Chicago. And then he went to Olympia and took second. That was all in that same year.
Yeah.
That was nuts. That's some crazy shit.
He got second in Helsinki, right?
Yeah, with Dorian.
Yates.
Yeah. But when I saw him, I knew he was different. I knew he was going to win because I said, Flex, I said, let's just forget about this show. I think Kevin already looks like a pro already.
And what did Flex say?
He had to understand it. He knew I'm not going to say that for no reason. And he damn sure, and I was 100% right. I went to try to make the universe team that year. So with Chris, I went the natural route. So
it's drug tested. Yeah.
Yeah. So I went the natural route, and I beat Ronnie at the USA in 91. I took 4th. And Ronnie was 7th or something like that. And so a few months later, we did the nationals, and I went natural. And then he was already natural, so it was easy for him to just already look like that. So I look a little bit lesser. Even Chicharello beat me in that one. I think he took 6th. And was it Mike? What's the guy? Mike Mendenhall?
Matt Mendenhall.
Matt Mendenhall. He took 5th. So
and he was a genetic wonder too.
Yeah, he was stacked. And then 8th was the kid that took 3rd. What you was talking about?
Edgar Fletcher.
Edgar Fletcher was 8th. Yeah, that was all in the Nationals in '91.
Yeah, you guys had to. I mean, back then. I mean, think about this past nationals. Did we know anyone competing at all? That's the crazy thing. I think that there's so many opportunities now that it's almost like the shows aren't as important.
I feel I would like to see, as we have enough pros, I would like to see it go back to one guy going in, one guy goes out.
I mean, you were the only one to get a pro card.
Yeah.
Back then it was men's and women's bodybuilding. So at the USA, you won the overall and the only pro card, right?
Yeah.
And then years later, they switched it to the runner-up.
Two cards.
Two.
Yeah. But it was Denise Rakowski.
Yeah, she was really good.
She turned pro that same time I turned pro. So it was just me and her being from California. They actually lived on the same street at
you
that
were
time.
training at Venice, Gold, right?
Yeah, and she lived just 3 blocks down from me, and we both won. That was pretty tight.
I mean, your background, you're a wrestler.
Yeah.
You were a teenage national champion, correct?
Right.
And
Yep.
did you know as a teenager, like, this is what I want to do the rest of my life?
Well, I just thought, but the thing is, though, it's just so far-fetched to be like, okay, I'm going to be that good.
I'm going to make a living.
Yeah, because it was just crazy to even think about who could be in the top 10 at the Olympia at the time. I would have been happy. You would have said, Chris, you're going to be in the top 10, and then that's going to be it. I would be like, well, shit, I'll take that because that's fucking incredible, right? So it didn't get till, I started wanting more and more as I got closer to it. But as a teenager, I knew I wanted to be good at it. So I did my first show at the Palm Springs High School. Just on a whim, just because my high school teacher said, "Hey, Chris, you should try bodybuilding. My boyfriend can show you some poses and give you a stack of magazines to where you can just start to learn." So from 1970 on up to the present, which was 83, I had all those magazines from all those different places. So that's where I just got super interested.
But didn't John Brown help you a little bit?
Well, I met John through Sean. I met Sean when I was in high school also because I went to his high school at El Dorado.
He was a football player there, right?
But I was wrestling at that high school at that tournament at his school. So we kind of got connected, just from being in that same area. And I knew because he was on the cover of Flex magazine as a teenager at that time. So I was like, damn, that guy just lived right there. So I said, I may want to live in that area, Fullerton, just to be closer to people who know what the fuck they're doing, And in Palm Springs at the time, just a handful of bodybuilders and guys and girls that compete. But I just wanted to be around. My mother was even like, if you want to be the best, you got to go where the best is and be around those people. So she kind of coerced me into one more. But, George Zachary at the time, he put me in touch with Robbie Robertson. Mm-hmm. That was like my mentor and also training partner as a teenager as I got closer to 19, 20 years old, like that. So he started helping me with the posing and the drilling me in the gym. And I mean, he used to have me so psyched up to train and to learn and to get hungry. But as even 18 years old, I did 7 shows in a row. As a teenager, just boom, 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 going through the ranks. Through the shows up and down California, just so to get on stage and to understand what I need to do on stage and all that shit. But I didn't really think, people was like, oh, you could be Mr. Olympia. And I was just like, Mr. Olympia.
What is that, right?
Yeah, I'm like, what? What do you mean?
And who was Mr. Olympia at that time? Lee Haney.
Lee Haney, yeah.
And that seemed like way, way light years ahead, right?
Yeah, so I'm like, even to be in the top 10, which was Ron Love, was top 10 bodybuilder. That would have been
He was the first pro I ever met, Ron Love. He came
really?
to my gym in Worcester, and I remember looking at him and I was like, oh my gosh, this guy is unbelievable, right?
Yeah, he was crazy looking. And, just become, and then I felt like I'm pumping iron, I watched 1,000 times. And just to be kind of have met everyone from the show as I've been competing. All that shit was just mind blowing to me. Just such a fan of it, and such like, oh man. Like even when I was a teenager, I trained for the Mr. California as a teenager, and I went to Venice, and I wanted to go and tan where those guys were tanning.
Yeah.
I wanted to train where they was training. I wanted to do all of that shit. I was training twice a day, but I'd eat my food and I'd go lay right there where those guys were like having like a little conversation and then going out to the beach. Like that would be an everyday thing.
I used to read about you in Flex, and I used to I remember they mapped out your daily routine for the USA. Like they mapped it out, and I was like, this is what it actually takes. And I remember being in the East Coast and being like, this is where I need to be in California. And I was like, this guy has the life. Like he eats and trains. He was training twice a day, which which no one does anymore. No. I want to talk a little bit about that too, because like you said, you went all in, and like the dedication, you would, and I'm thinking, wow, God, he's a dark skinned guy, and why is he tanning? And then I learned that even like the dark skinned guys had to tan, it wasn't just
even out the skin.
Yeah. I don't think anyone does anymore.
No one
tans. No one goes to the tanning bed.
They don't. I went to the show the other day and I said, this guy was so white. I was like, dude, you don't tan at all. No, I just get straight. I was like, it actually helps you.
I think it did. Like, I don't know. I had this theory that it helped thin the skin a little bit when you.
It did.
Like, and it dries out the skin too, and you sweat a little bit.
Everybody did back then.
Not only that, if you get cuts, you get, like in the little creases of your body, it gets a little dark. It's almost like a makeup effect.
Yeah.
So you make the cuts look a little.
So you encourage like a lot of the athletes you train to tan?
Oh, yeah.
Like, so Breon, you're training Breon is he tanning?
But you know how it becomes so second nature. Yeah, I mean, we've done it. Like, we've been on Kuwait, remember? He was like super dark. But we've done it, but it's like some stuff is just so second nature to me, and I thought that everyone thinks like that. Everyone don't think like that. So sometimes I don't bring stuff up because I think it's just like, it's almost like, telling someone they need to drink water. Like, it's just part of what you should be understanding you need to do. And it's not, it didn't filter from that time period to this time period for some reason.
I mean, you had a lot of people that kind of, I don't want to say coached you, but you had a lot of people that mentored you, right? So, I mean, you're a master of posing. You're a master of training and nutrition. Like, what do you feel was your biggest obstacle from the time you were a teenage till the time you retired? Because, listen, you were known as one of the hardest trainers. People forget, like, we talk about the strongest bodybuilders. Like, everyone talks about Ronnie Coleman, but, dude, you threw some crazy-ass weights around.
Yeah. See,
and obviously you had a couple injuries later, but talk about, like, you still did repetitions. I remember going to the Flex photo shoot, and Chris Lund would be like, Chris Cormier just came in and banged out the 200-pound dumbbells. And I was thinking in my head, like, I didn't think you were an overly big dude, right?
I wasn't.
But you were fucking strong, dude.
You were the first person I ever saw do the 200s in a magazine.
So the thing is, I remember...
when did you gain the strength, though? Like, as a teenager, I know, like, you were a wrestler, but, like, were you... like a lot stronger than the kids?
Yeah. But I graduated at 16 years old and I went straight to college. And I'm wrestling men when I'm like 16, just turning 17, which I was like really young for that. But my brother was strong. We were both strong. But I don't know, the guy who was just trying to teach me about bodybuilding, he was like, if you went to business and if you didn't incline at least 400 pounds, then you wasn't shit. So that was like in my mind.
Yeah, but Chris, at the time, and correct me if I'm wrong, there wasn't many people pressing 4 or 5. You were doing 5 plates. That's 495.
I know.
Like, how many people were doing that?
I did double with 525. That was the most I did, and it was
an incline, which no one even touches an incline bench anymore. By the way, they're almost like
straight to the machine.
Yeah, like it's almost like it's a piece in the gym that just looks good, right?
Right. Yeah. So that, and then I went to the 200s, and then I started doing flat and incline, all in the same workout with the 200s and with the 5.
Would people stop in the gym to watch?
See, that's the thing. Like Gold's Gym, the whole front room and half of the next room would stop. Whatever lift they were doing, they'd stop, and they're gonna watch that, and then the commotion will come back. But when they see someone's gonna do a big lift, everyone just stopped.
How much of an adrenaline rush was that for you? Honestly.
Crazy, because even though if you took off your clothes and you were somebody substantial
They stopped.
They stopped, and they're gonna watch. So everyone's at that mirror over there.
The fake mirror.
The fake mirror that make you look like a male, like $1 million.
Yeah. I think even I'd be like fucking Mr. Olympia still in that mirror. That's where I saw, there's the picture of the USA and that John Sherman and all those guys for Flex.
Standing there. Yeah.
And I remember I was in the gym when they all took, and Flex was there, and I remember seeing you pose, and I remember Chris Aceto,
right?
Chris before your show.
Yeah.
Before the 93 USA, I was in there.
I was there. I was just going to check.
Yeah, you walked in and you were wearing like the
those pink.
You were the pink, the slip. What are they like? They were like surfer shoes. Yeah, I remember. And you were posing, and Chris Aceto said, "Fuck." He said Cormier is going to be a big problem for this show. And I'm like, man, you didn't talk about Chris Cormier, because he talked about like DeMeo, because he worked with who's the coach that trained Dexter Jackson later? The guy in Florida.
Yeah,
Joe McNeil.
Joe McNeil. Yeah, so he was working with him, and he switched from Chris, and everyone was talking about, oh, he's going to be top, and this was really flat for the show. But no one was really talking about you. It was kind of disrespectful in a sense.
Well, the thing is, though, I get it. I didn't really like freak people out with my appearance, but I think once I took my clothes off and I have like, just the trunks on, and then my attributes can show more. I think also they were saying like, don't worry about the biggest guy in his sweats backstage. Worry about the guy who you can't tell what his body looks like. And then
the shape.
Yeah, that's the shape guy. That's what I was always told, So, and then like Robbie Robinson, not a big person, but when he poses, his body opens
comes
up.
alive. Yeah.
So I kind of like took on that type of mentality. Like that was my goal, is to make everything, it's not like you can then, some people, you probably did this too, is get caught up in the numbers game. Like I weigh this amount.
Oh, well, dude, look at all we hear about this Olympia is like, we just had Brandon Curry here. He said he's going to be the biggest ever. Rami's pushing 300. Back in my day, like if you were 260, that was massive. Like Haney, I remember was like 250 something, and that was like the craziest weight ever, right? And then Yates was hitting 260.
But the thing is with Lee, he had those attributes. Like he hit that front lat spread on your ass, and that chest is flaring up like that. You got to have it or you don't. Like Yates never had a chest like that. I wanted that, but.
Who was the most impressive bodybuilder you've ever witnessed in person? Like, you have to have a time where you're like...
In the gym?
Anywhere. Like, I saw Victor Richards, and I remember seeing him, like, the time you turned pro, and I thought, wow, it was crazy. But, like, I always talk about Lee Priest, how big Lee Priest, the first time I saw him when he was, like, 20 years old.
Right.
I remember seeing Flex Wheeler was on this podcast, and he used to walk into Golds, like, in the unitards. And I remember thinking, God, does anyone have shape like that?
With the walk?
Yeah, and he had like a beeper on his sock or his atomic shoe.
Yeah.
He wore a beeper.
But he's doing leg extensions with the phone in his hand.
Well, Dillette was doing that too.
Yeah. But Paul freaked me out one time because he was so tall, and we was like, and you know how it was when you first came to Goals, like no one's like just welcoming you with open arms. It's almost you got to earn the respect.
You kind of get the stares, and like people are eyeing you up, like who's this guy?
Yeah. So it's like the gunslinger coming into town type of shit. So when Paul came into town, he was just like quiet and not really talking to us. So we just kind of like walking past, like we don't even, how bodybuilders do that. They walk, like I don't even see you. You could be in a supermarket, it's only you and another bodybuilder.
Dude,
they still walk by like I don't see you. You're not big enough for me.
Well, Flex told me you guys used to try to intimidate everyone. You would roll over, and if someone was doing, it wasn't even chest day, but if someone was doing chest, you'd try to go over there and.
You guys are the original gym bullies.
Yeah.
Yeah, just because we had a real like, we all came from neighborhoods and shit, so we was almost like not like a gang, but like we was a crew, right? So
yeah, he talked about that in depth.
Yeah, we was a crew, and you definitely, if you talk to one of our guys, then you're talking to all three of us at the same time. It was never no doubt about that. So we got into a lot of situations where someone got disrespected from our crew or something, and then So,
but you guys bounced together though, right?
Yeah, we bounced at Roxbury at night, and then sometimes if we worked late at night, we got something to eat, we all together. and if we fucked around and played football, PlayStation, or not PlayStation, it was like Nintendo at the time.
Yeah.
But if we did that and we stayed up too late, we would go straight to the gym after that because we're like, dude, we're gonna miss training if we go to sleep now. We're gonna sleep all day. We're gonna miss training, so we got to go train right now. So we go from after all of that into the gym like 8 o'clock in the morning, falling asleep in between sets and shit.
Just because you were up all night.
Yeah, but we got to get the training in. So we would definitely get that in, and then we'd go home and sleep. And we'd do it all again the next day. We was working 5 nights a week.
How important was your quest to get a professional card, thinking that I'm going to get a contract? Because at that time, what a lot of our viewers and listeners don't understand is when you won a professional card, you were almost guaranteed to get a contract, right? With Weider. So were you on this journey, like, and how important was financial return from being a pro? Did you even think about it? Or was it more the title that was enticing
more like
for you?
the title.
I think so too. Yeah.
It wasn't really like people get into like, oh, but they don't make enough money. I said back in the day, that's not why we started to bodybuild. It was to more like we want to see how good we can be. We wanted to see what goals we can accomplish as far as like titles and you know, you want to go around and compete around the world, and you want to know who's in the world, who's the best in the world. Mm-hmm. That was more like our the thing that we really wanted to see happen. But for me, moving from Palm Springs, like I was in college, and I even like I did 2 years of some football after my wrestling. Then I said, you know what? I walked out of class one day and I'm moving to Venice. I'm going to do
that. Was it, huh?
Yeah, that was it. I never even checked out of school.
What were you studying at the time?
I was actually going to be a police officer.
So criminal justice.
Yeah, criminal justice.
I got my degree in criminal justice.
Yeah, so I remember I was in my business law class, and I remember I was writing down Mr. Olympia, Mr. Teenage America. Yeah. They write notes. I'm writing Teenage America. Chris Quinn. I was like doing my signature.
Of course, practicing.
Yeah, I need to learn to do my signature. I'm going to need to do that. And I just looked at the door and got up and walked out.
That was it, huh?
That was it. And after that, I moved that week.
Where'd you go to? Like, did you rent an apartment?
Yeah.
How much was an apartment in Venice now? Because it's ridiculous right now.
Now that's close to
under
$2,500, $3,000.
Oh, so it was that much money then?
No. Back then it was $1,200. Mine was $1,200.
Okay.
$1,250 back then. But obviously now it's like
it's
25
$3-4 grand.
Yeah.
Is there a certain point when you realized I can make a living from this? Is there a certain moment that happened? Maybe a first huge check or a first huge contract where you said,
so
this is the moment.
My mother was my first original sponsor. She was like, I'm going to give you $2,500 a month. I want you to focus as much as possible on achieving your goal. I think you can do it. I believe in you, that type of thing. Wow. So I went to Venice with that. And then,
that was a lot of money back then.
Yeah, it was a lot of money.
Wow. It's a lot of money now.
So I was like, yeah. So that, and then I went to the USA, this and that. So then once I did that in 1991, I took 92 off from competition. I said, I need to get bigger. So I just trained. I trained with Flex when he won the USA.
I'm sure that motivated you.
Yeah, so I'm like, I can do this. And I was looking at Flex like I'm a little bigger than him. I mean, he's got the attributes over me, but I had a bigger body than him, a wider body than him. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I can do this too. So, then I got my competition on the belt. But then it was like we wanted to race to get onto the pro stage. We didn't want to take another year. We're like, as soon as I can compete, I want to compete. So within that next 5 to 6 months, I did the Pro Ironman, and I took second.
To who? Wheeler?
No, to Vince Taylor.
Okay.
And the funny thing is, to my right, I remember coming out. What's that cat name that did the murder thing? The black dude did the double murder.
What's
from England? Berto Fox.
Yeah, he just got out of jail.
Yeah. So Berto Fox is to my right.
Yeah.
And he's like nudging me, like he didn't want to give me space, so I just stepped back out of respect. Like that's.
So you didn't try to control the stage.
Yeah. So I was just like, okay, I'm gonna step back. So then, so he just like, kind of like bullying me with you the rookie type of thing on the bet, and so they called my number out for the first call out, And I'm all like, excuse me.
So he didn't get called out then?
No.
Yeah,
He got smoked. So like, you pushing me back. I'm in the first call out, buddy. I was like, excuse me. When I did the thing, but I took second to Vince. And then the next week, I had, real validation by being in the Arnold Classic, and I placed 4th in my first Arnold. So that's right there. I was like, okay.
Did you ever contract with Weider yet? Or did you have to prove yourself?
I didn't, yeah. You know what
I kind of remember when you signed the deal because I remember the books told the deal,
But I went to go see, me and Dauda became good friends.
Yeah.
And I didn't finish telling you that, but that was the most impressive guy that I've seen. Just because he was that tall, but he still had these big-ass quads, big-ass calves.
And shit,
yeah.
Arms were ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
He curled 20-pound dumbbells too, right?
Yeah. So back to Weider. So Weider promised me 2 weeks out from the USA, he was like,
if you win.
Yeah, but he said, come in. Paul had a meeting with him. I just came up there with him, and Paul just slid me in saying, yeah, this is my buddy Chris. He's getting ready for the USA. So he's like, oh, do you have any legs? I'm like, I say, yeah, I got legs. And I pulled my pants down in his office, and I started posing for him. And he was just like shaking his head, like, okay. He said, come back and see me in 2 weeks after the USA, and then we'll get you a contract. So don't shoot with anybody. He said that shit to everybody.
Told me the same shit, yeah.
Right, he said to
Who'd you
everybody.
shoot with? He asked me, and I already shot with everybody.
Yeah. Don't shoot with anybody. Okay. So then he was like, yo, I come back 2 weeks later. I win the overall. I'm like, oh, hell yeah. They asked me backstage, oh, can you come and guest pose for us? We got a Weider group, in Arizona. So, yeah, for sure. Like, I'm with the company already and shit. I go back to meet him, and then he gives me Tom Dieters instead. Not even meeting with him. So I'm going to talk to Tom Dieters, and they're like, we don't have a contract for you. I was just like, you got to be kidding
How much was a contract back then were the guys getting? Do you remember the price? Like, was it like $4,000 or $3,000?
Well, here's the thing. Mine was 2, but I didn't get it yet. So I left there with no contract, but I was working every weekend because at the time, everyone wanted the USA champion to guest pose. So I was making a good living with that, and I didn't have a contract. Then I shot with Chris Lund again. And when I did that, Joe saw the one with me with the Army gear on.
Yeah.
He was like, oh, I want this guy. I want him to sign him. He's doing good. He takes good photos. So that's what got me the contract. It wasn't my.
He offered me $2,000 too, my first, and I refused it actually.
You know what? You did?
Yeah, I went back the next year and won the nationals. He paid me $4,000.
See, you know what I did? I said took the 2. Then after 2 months in, I went back and said, Joe, this is not enough.
Yeah.
And then he was like, oh, let me give you an increase. And so he gave me $500 increase. I'm like, Joe. I'm like, bro. I said, after I pay my rent, I got a certain amount of money to eat with. Like, what do you want me to do? And then I took 6th again. That was after, I took 6th in Olympia. Mm-hmm. So when I did that, he's like, okay, I'm going to give you a raise. And he just kept inching me to, $3,333. Mm-hmm. And then he, and then the more I stayed in the top 6 or whatever, the more he inched me. But he kept doing it till I had to work my way all the way up to where it was decent. But at the same time, I used to get kind of pissed because he's like he's got Gunther like ahead of me in money wise. Mm-hmm. I'm like, dude, I'm smoking Gunther. Why you doing me like that? So yeah, and he'd just be like, well, I don't really use you a lot with my products, but I like you as a competitor, this and that. And then when I was with them, but MuscleTech wanted me.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
And so I was like, they started trying to court me, taking me to lunch, after my workout, and then leaving, and start making an impression on you and stuff. And they kept massaging me every time they saw me. And then I was just like, when it came down to my contract was up, and I remember they were like, they wanted to sign me, but Joe hadn't said nothing to me. I didn't say nothing to him. And I think he got pissed off that I went with MuscleTech. But MuscleTech was willing to do multiple years. They was willing to give me way more money than him. So it was a no-brainer for me. But at the time, it was like.
Were you scared, though? Like, oh, if I leave Weider, my placing?
Oh, that's what Lee Haney did. Lee Haney went to Twin Lab.
Yeah, I remember, yeah.
So I was looking more like, okay, they're willing to do 4 years. But these guys, they say, okay, we're not going to give you the sign. Did they give you that, MuscleTech? They let you, if you win a show, you're going to get 50%.
No, they wouldn't give me a bonus because they paid me too much money.
Yeah, okay. So that's the thing. That's the thing. They didn't want to give me bonus either.
Bill Heath got a bonus.
So,
I didn't.
But you know what I told him? I said, if you're not going to give me bonus, then I want first-class fights. Because no one had it at the time.
Yeah,
I told you that, remember?
Yeah.
So thank me, guys, out there for that. I'll start bullying.
I always said,
bullying
first classer.
Chris,
Yeah,
I always
yeah.
said, and I'm, to this day, I own a supplement company, but there's no one that treated people like MuscleTech did. I mean, birthday gifts. Remember, we'd stay at the Ritz-Carlton when we did our photo shoots, and we'd eat like kings. I remember you would order sushi like endless. I think you might have the
remember
biggest
that big platter? Remember that big platter of sushi?
I think you used to have the biggest budget eating out for I can imagine what your expense bill was.
I did that.
But they loved you, man. I remember that's all. You were kind of like the whole topic of conversation when we go places because you were just
and I
a
jump
character, man.
And I jump on the mic. MuscleTech.
Yeah.
And I'm dancing and shit. I'm getting
But
the crowd
you
going.
you always had the new gadgets, and like you were always, like I said, we were talking about laughing before. You were always on the phone, and like you were our entertainment for the photo shoots because we'd go to these places. Remember, they brought us up to sit us. They made this like mafia table, and Christian Bowring did this whole thing on the docuseries for the DVDs. Remember, they sold them in GNC, and we were like the ringleaders. But you were the whole. Like, you gave the energy to the whole thing. Because a lot of us were kind of newer, and we just, you had the more experience than everyone. Right? Yeah. You were the guy that was kind of the mentor, like I said back then. And, obviously now you've transitioned, right? You're competitive, you got injured. Your competitive life kind of got cut short, right? Right. And you went through some really dark times.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
And I know that's been on a lot of the podcasts, and how does that still affect you now, like now being away from, when's the last time you competed, what year?
I think 07,
okay, so
08, something like that. I don't remember, but I had some crazy.
People don't realize, you had the
I almost died
the dead foot and everything.
Yeah.
And how are you today? Like, how does your body, because I see you training at the World Gym, or the gym.
The gym, in San Diego. Yeah, so I do. Just the injuries makes it hard because, we talk about this a few times. Like, when you get older, you don't get the same pump. You don't get the same anything. And it's just almost like driving a civilian car when you had a Formula One car.
Of course,
you're used to this Formula car. So now it's just like you're somehow regulated to this different everything. So it's fun, but just the stuff I went through with the spinal injuries and I had the staph infection in my spine, the neck injury, all that stuff. So it just kind of like makes it really tough to want to, keep it up. I'll get going and then I'll fall off. Yeah.
So like, are you gonna work out while you're in Las Vegas?
Yeah, I think even Dexter want to do a couple sessions.
He's still kind of at it, I see on Instagram a little bit. Yeah. You guys still competitive with the afterlife is the question.
Yeah. That's just how
I see he's training people now online, but you're still the master trainer.
Yeah. So I want to come out. I want to get an app to where I can get closer to, more massive type thing.
Audience.
Yeah, audience. Because I don't put a lot of my tips or my stuff. Like, you do a lot of tips and a lot of stuff like that. I don't really do that. But I want to get an app because I feel like once I do that, I want to make it different from a lot of people. I'm going to be really heavily involved with it myself, and I'm going to just do different stuff that you need to be, that I think is missing from the sport or missing from. You don't have to be actually a competitor, but even when you learn the poses and learn the different ways to pose your body to make it more appealing or make it the best actual look for your body in that particular pose. Stuff like that's going to be in the app also. That's
I honestly, you came to me when I was on the last years of competition. You always offered your help, and I almost regret that we never really linked up because I never thought I was a great poser. You, from the beginning, told me, you have the physique. You just got to fix some things, and that's when I started seeing Steve Murphy and doing the neuromuscular work, which you were the king of, right?
Right.
And you kind of push that on everyone, and And unfortunately, I became so good that you and I battled a lot, back and forth, especially
I didn't think it
Arnold.
was going to get that good, but goddamn.
I mean, it's kind of like the Phil Heath to me. Like I mentored Phil Heath, and I never expected Phil Heath to come up and beat me.
But even though when we'd be like going to guest pose and we'd be in Pittsburgh with the Manions and everything, I would be like, Jay, you got to use rap music, man.
Yeah,
Ray was doing straight rock and roll.
Yeah, rock music. I remember that.
Well, I mean,
I was like, Jay. But I remember you looked at me like I don't know if you were thinking about it, but you kind of like smirked at me like you may. But then he started using stuff, and it fit well with his personality. I thought, he should come out with that all of the lights, that type of shit.
Yeah.
So he started getting more of a persona. Of
course.
But it took him a while to get to that.
I was a super introvert, and I feel like you were kind of an introvert in a sense too.
Yeah.
Like
I was just shy.
As much as you're outgoing, like I said, you were the life of the party, right? But
yeah, I was just shy.
You're a Leo like myself. I think we're just very. I mean, we're definitely leaders, but at the same time, like I was very introverted.
Jake's a Leo too.
Oh, you are? What are you? August what? Oh, okay.
Day before mine.
Wow. Yeah, we kind of go back and forth on this, but your personality, like you were a very quiet, humble person. Where some people were more outspoken, whatever else, and I think that I don't know if there's a lot of people that don't like you. I mean, you've never been. Even like in the magazines, they tried to create this thing. And I mean, you had a training partner who you battled with, Flex Wheeler, who arguably is one of the greatest physiques of all time, right?
Right.
Do you think, who has the best body on ever in the sport of bodybuilding?
On a show, any particular show?
I mean,
like if, like.
I liked, I'm a Lee Haney fan. I just think I trained with, I was so
Robbie.
close, and Robbie Robinson, that Serratus.
Who looks unbelievable still. How old is he now?
He's like 77.
And he's still training every day, right?
But the thing is, since I was a teenager until now, I've never seen him eat anything bad, like ever.
Never.
No.
Don't you wish you were that disciplined?
Bro, I remember when he was training me, he would handwrite me a letter to psych me up, like a full-on letter.
Like, what do you mean? Like, what would just give us a little insight on?
So there's the thing, like, we'll walk the beach, even from like a teenager on up to, even though we, even if you like smoked a joint with him and just walking on the beach talking bodybuilding, talking old school days, what he did on stage, what he did if a certain person did this or that to him or whatever, situational stuff, we would talk that and then when I go to the train, I remember one time, dude, he had me so psyched up. I would run through a fucking wall if he asked me to. And I remember I'd go pick him up in the morning, and then we'd go to the gym together, and then he'd be walking, and he'd stop at the door, and he'd turn around, and he looked at me. He's like, as soon as you step foot in this gym, the first step, nobody's here but me and you. Let's go.
The mental game.
And then we are going to the gym, and I just be like,
tunnel vision.
Nobody, don't talk to nobody. No one's in our world. It was just like that. And the same thing, we're in the posing room. Like, I'm sitting in a pool of sweat, like splashing in my own sweat, and I'm just like a soldier. I'm just like, no discussion, no whining, no, oh, man. Because I get guys in the gym, they be like, oh, man, come on, man. Like, bro, like, this is what it takes. Like, you want to be able to function when you're at a disarray, when you're dizzy, when you feel like you can't do another pose, but you still got more shots to do. That's the guy that you want to be able to function at that, correct?
Yeah, I mean,
you want to be able to function.
I would say my mental focus was what put me ahead, because my genetics obviously were limited, right? But people, I think, don't know how serious you were.
Right.
And how focused you were. But when you you moved to Venice, you trained twice a day. Like, how important was those double split workouts? Do you think if you were today's bodybuilding, do you think you would train twice, or would you do the ones?
I would go twice.
Why doesn't anyone do it, Chris? And why do you put that on people? Like, as far as now when you train?
Here's the thing. Like, let's say you have a certain amount of days in a year, and you put in high intensity workouts at say 10 to 12 o'clock. You get some food in, you get a nap or whatever. if that's your job, if that's your thing you do, why wouldn't you?
If you're contracted, that's what I mean. You're
Why-
contracted, like
Yeah.
that's your job,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
We all went to that goal to try to get paid to work out, right? So you took as much availability of that time,
So you could
right?
do some big body parts or whatever in the morning, but then the night you get a small body part, and then you can put the posing in and stuff like that. But if that's and then that's your day. So even when I was training, even when I'm working at Roxbury, I also had a small job at the. I was selling nutrition at the what's those stores?
GNC.
GNC. So I worked at GNC
Where?
in Roxbury, in Culver City, and I'd be at 2 different locations. But I'd go there, and then sometime I'd just go home enough to get some food, and then they took away the food at night. So sometime I'd go to my job, and I got chicken breasts and some wrapped up in some foil.
Yeah.
That I got. So when at a certain time of night, I'm going to start chomping on this chicken breast in the middle of my work shift. So between that and I'm just like this is what we're gonna do, and we were afraid not to get those workouts in. We were afraid not to miss a workout. That was not in the cards.
You were how old at this time, though? Or when did you turn pro?
24. So I was like 23 at the time.
So you turned pro at what age?
24.
It was a young man's game then. What do you think about today's bodybuilding where, I mean, no one's turning pro in their 20s. It seems like it's very rare, right? And
Well, here's the thing, though. What we was doing, some people, I felt like myself, like I was always taught for like Robbie and those guys, you're taking the least amount as possible to get the results you need. Mm-hmm. And I feel like today it's kind of switched to where like some of the guys that's younger or whatever, they want to almost maximize that stuff. And I'd be like, where are you going to go when you turn pro? You going to double that, or you going to inch your way up there? Like you already at, over a gram or a bottle and a half or whatever you're doing.
I feel everyone just takes 1,000 tests now, like right out of the gate. Where,
but I feel like I was under that and I was good, but you gotta understand it's a mental side. It affects you mentally too, right? Did you ever feel like you would say or do certain things differently if you were on or off?
I wasn't so much. It didn't really affect me, truthfully.
No. So,
but I cycled on and off. I don't know what you
I cycled on and off for sure.
We actually came
I never
off
stayed
the
on.
night.
Yeah.
But now these guys bridge or they cruise now. And
I'm on TRT. It's only
the
800 a week.
The TRT is 500 megs,
I know.
I mean,
TRT.
you're laughing over there. But we came off.
we came
it was like
off.
It was like a 10 or 12 week cycle. Then you come off for 10, 12 weeks, and obviously you shrink down. Like I've seen you get pretty small, actually.
Yeah, but after I competed, like let's say I compete at 250 something, whatever, but I would still hold my size after the show. It would slowly come down.
Of course, yeah.
But Flex, I would always be like, I would be so amazed at how big he would be at the show. 2 weeks later, he's looking.
But he didn't train or eat, probably.
I know,
right?
Right.
And Paul was the same way. I felt like a lot of guys just didn't, like after the Olympia was over, they took a couple months off and started in January again, right?
Yeah, and Paul was a trip. But yeah, that's the way it was then, man. So, but a lot of the competitors, I think, it just makes it different. I don't know what, because we took what Arnold and those guys are doing, and we increased it as far as and then we went to how they are now, and I would expect these people to want to increase what we were doing, but take on what we did, do it better, do it more, do it, or whatever. But somehow, the importance of the posing dropped off. It's not like it's a secret. You just gotta want to mentally put yourself there. And I think UJ had a very strong mindset, and that's what tripped me out about you is like you would take something, and if it was golden, you would maximize that shit. Like I didn't expect you to be coming from here to go and seeing the guy that I was seeing.
Yeah, Steve Murphy.
I underestimated you with that.
I know, Chris, but I give you a lot of credit because, even though we became rivals, right?
I thought about you a lot. Yeah.
And I know that like it pushed me, you know, like Ronnie Coleman pushed me to be better. Like if there was no Ronnie Coleman, I wouldn't have been. But, you know, there was a lead up until I was doing solely the Olympia, and that was the battles with you at the
Arnold.
And the Arnold, you kind of set
we
the
also,
standard because
we also did the Ironman.
well, you beat me at the Ironman, and
I was unbeatable at the Ironman.
yeah,
The Ironman,
you win 4?
Yeah, 4 in a row. I was kind of tired of it. I'm not tired of it, but I was like,
That show set the tone for the year always.
yeah.
well, it was the best lighting, but Chris,
Yeah.
I was so mad because I came in '99, right? And I honestly, like, obviously you were an idol of mine, and I stood on stage with you, and I was super shredded that year. I just wasn't as big. And I remember going out there, and they said that you were eating a Subway sandwich, like, on Thursday. And I'm fucking cooking at the Marina Pacific Hotel, my fish, and I was on like 50 grams of carbs a day. And they said, yeah, Chris was just at the gym, and he walked in on a turkey sandwich with cheese and whatever. And then I'm like, oh, there's no way he's going to show up on stage and be on point. And I remember seeing him backstage. I'm like, oh, he looks all right. And then under the lights, that the body just came alive. And
Yeah.
I mean, you smoked everyone, and that's the year you arguably could have walked away with Olympia title. Where
What year was that?
That was '99. He got third.
Yeah.
And I remember all Mannion talked about was how great Chris Cormier looked, and you know, I never imagined it because once again, Chris had better balance than everyone, but he didn't have an overwhelming body part. Like there was nothing that stood out on you other than the condition and the balance.
But that was like my goal from day one. Like I'm a teenager and I'm reading, okay, you've got to have your calves, your biceps,
Equal,
your neck all around the same circumference. So that was like my goal from day one. And then I was like, okay, I'm measuring my waist and my quads, and I'm like, okay, I want to get my quads as close to my waist size as possible, you know. So, you know, I had my legs got up to around, you know, 30-ish or so like that. I was just and I had like around a 32-inch waist, so it was like a little bit. It was closer, but if I did a lat spread, I could like.
I don't think anyone's waist is small. I don't think anyone's waist is smaller than their legs, right?
I'd say Linda Murray did it.
I know, but like in the men's,
mean like men's? Yeah,
I know
tough.
they say that.
Was
like,
Ronnie's in the beginning?
no.
I don't think so.
Ronnie had
Dude, it's
little
so,
legs. Ronnie
it's
had
so
little
hard to have, like, I mean, even my legs, like, people thought I had phenomenal legs, but on a tape measure, dude, I don't even think they measured 30 inches, to be truthful. I think my legs are like 28.
I remember
I did a 30,
at the
32
07,
before.
your right leg was smaller. It was an inch and a half smaller.
I know,
He
but
measured them.
I'm
Everyone's
my
like
biggest,
that.
and 27
yeah,
and a half.
I didn't
Yeah.
even hit 30, so your legs were big. But I feel like you're 5'10", right? I'm 5'9", so I felt like the guys that had taller height are gonna have bigger, like, you know, Greg Kovacs had a 24-inch arm, but dude, he was 6'3" or whatever, right?
Yeah, I remember Kovacs was supposed to have been a strong guy too, right?
Yeah.
So he came. I remember he came to goals, and he was
He was the world's strongest bodybuilder.
Yeah, but he was rolling the 22. I'm at 22, the 200 across the room.
Yeah.
And he stopped to take a rest. He was like huffing like this, huffing.
God.
And his wife was spotting him at
And
the
his
time.
wife came running over, and she started rolling it for him. She started rolling the 200 across.
You know, I only met him once, and I remember seeing him sit in the crowd, and he had a fan.
Yeah,
He
she
was
had the
holding a
on him.
fan,
Yeah.
like, or maybe she was holding it. It
He
was
was-
sitting there with a
he
fan
was-
blowing on.
She would hold the fan on his face.
He was
Yeah.
the first 400-pound bodybuilder.
But the thing is, I was like, I said, and then they said, Chris, they want you to come spot
Kovacs.
spot Kovac with the 200-pound dumbbell. I was like, fuck no, I'm not fucking spotting him. I said, he's supposed to be strong. Then he just wanted to lift it so he can do some negatives to look like he was actually pushing it,
So he couldn't
but
do
he
them?
couldn't do it.
Who was
I
the
decline.
strongest guy at Gold's Gym Venice?
I was.
Okay.
I like that. There's no hesitation.
I think we already
would.
discussed this. I think
Yeah.
Even when I was clean, I still was able to do like a 700 squat for a double. When I didn't take anything, and I said, let me just see how strong I'd be with, like, on the off cycle. So I was just, each week I was coming up a pound. I was coming up a plate each week, and then I said, Chris, come down to the gym and come shoot me. I'm gonna try a big squat. He said, okay. So he came down there and shot me. It was in the off season, but I just wanted to see, get that on film and get and do the squat. And I had a regular bodybuilding belt on, and I remember I knocked out two reps with that, a little over 7.
So that's your best lift, you think?
Yeah, I never did that when I was on, but
for competition? Or?
Yeah, I never did it like that, but I wanted to see without anything. And early when I said Ronnie had smaller legs, at first he had smaller legs until a certain time. Remember that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, his legs were actually behind for some reason. Like that's probably the biggest improvement Coleman made was the leg size, right? Because he was kind of a big upper body, had the crazy arms, but his legs were kind of lacking.
Yeah, because he's just stand, kind of funny with him.
He stood with his legs together. Remember? Yeah.
Almost crossing it.
Why do you think the guys don't train as hard now as they did in your day?
It's just different now because people are worried about the social media thing too. So we didn't have tripods that we got to set up and try to, and then you got like, here's the thing. When I trained with Dorian, I was 43 years old at the time, but he was trying to get me to train with him when I was 35. That's where it's a big mistake for me. I didn't
take advantage of it.
I didn't take something like that was going to be golden for me. And I didn't really understand about intensity. I could be strong, but I still didn't understand about intensity. I didn't understand it. But then everything started connecting dots just from all of my mentors and training partners before. And then I trained with Charles for a while. Charles was more on the line of like angles and setting up an apparatus to put you in the right angle to try to build in a certain way. But it wasn't intense. So once I learned that part, and then I went to, to study about personal training and training all that stuff, I connected all the dots. But I was just too old at the time. That's where a lot of people go wrong because they wait till it's too late to get in the proper position or the right buttons pushed, I think, to get them to the level where they want it to be. I see that all the time. And people wait and wait and wait. Next thing you know, it's too late for you to make your body do something.
What does Charles Glass mean to you?
Now?
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
he seemed like you were with him for quite a bit of years.
Yeah, I just thought we was going to parlay something as someone that's been around him more, and he wasn't really willing to put me in that position. So I kind of like, okay, I'm going to go do this with or without you. Just like, you say, I'm a Leo. Dude, Leos is not the type of person.
You're not a follower.
Yeah. I'm rather like, okay, I'm going to do my thing. And so going there, going to England, doing that stuff. But then when I started training people, it was just a lot of static in the gym with Charles. So Charles didn't really want that type of energy in the gym. And I just remember my first day training people in goals, and it was like, he just kind of just looked at me weird. And I was just like, I just looked at him thinking he's going to smile. Just like if I've known you for a long time, I know you're going to be doing your thing. And, I wish everyone success as they trying to go on their journey. But I was wanting to give back and help people because I always been that type of person anyway. And then I just didn't get the
respect or
or it was I don't know. You
didn't get the welcome.
What I thought I would have gotten. But then me going out to Kuwait, which I think catapulted me in a different light, working with the people I did out there.
Oxygen.
D'Asher and Rowley and Rami.
That's when I first started hearing about you, like really working with people.
Yeah.
Was that
what year was that, Chris?
2017. Remember it got
and
really hot out there.
Bodder brought you out there, right?
Yeah.
As like, hey,
he moved you there for a while, right?
Yeah. So what happened was I saw him at the Arnold, and he was like, "Yep, man, he's a fucking good dude."
Another one?
Yeah.
Another purple?
Yeah, great. Black people like the great.
So Bodder brought you out there to.
Yeah. So he brought me out there to do a seminar. Because I met him, and he's like, "Oh man," he said, "You was one of my favorite bodybuilders growing up." And I said,
Respected,
yeah. So I was like, "Shit." He's like, "Yeah, you." He said, and I said, "Ask him." I said, "Who's my favorite?" He's like, "You were my favorite." So I said, "Okay." I said, "I want to go out there." I never got a chance to go to Kuwait, and I went. He said, "Come out there and do a seminar and stuff. I'll bring you out there like that. So it's not going to cost you nothing." And then I ended up doing a camp out there, Camp Cormier out there in Kuwait. And I started doing it for a number of years after that. But I started having my own guys come from all over the world to train with me. But then we also started helping with Curry and with you remember Curry started growing those legs, and I was out there at the time, so you put 2 and 2 together.
Oh, where you expect big things. He just walked in, and I hear he was looking tremendous this year. So
yeah, I've seen the front, but I haven't seen the back.
Yeah.
But I'm very interested.
From the front, he looks way bigger than he has.
Who impresses you today? I mean, I know you work with Brian and Classic. We'll get to that, but as far as the open, do you think this is Rami's show? I mean, everyone talks about him.
Just because I saw him so far out and dialed in, far out from what I remember him being. I think it's a lot easier if you wanted before. All you had to do is come in shape. Just that I used to think before he would kind of lose it mentally the last couple of weeks, and his body would shift into a whole nother look from what I saw, with those previous weeks, leading up to that. I used to go to his house, help him with his posing. I had trained him for a while, and I think that when he took second to Phil, I think it was in 18, I believe. So I know him very well, but I just never thought that his heart was in the right place for him to go that next level, to push yourself on the cardio, to push yourself in the training, to go through that extra little pain that it would take to bring your body to another level.
Dark place.
Yeah. So if you, have a trouble with that, I think it dictates a lot of your physical shortcomings or not. This thing is a mindset, and that's the one thing. Like I said, I didn't realize about you. Doing the right thing, especially with your money and your finances as you're competing, getting ready for the days you're not competing, all that stuff. I was just thinking that all that shit's, in the future I'm gonna do. What I'm saying? I was just it just came to me like it was easier for me than wrestling. So I was like, well, shit, I could do this for a long time. Like I'm waiting for Kevin and all those guys to drop off, and I'm gonna just smash people.
Yeah.
So that was my mindset. But then, the life and trials and tribulations of life hit me, and that's kind of just kind of like changed everything up for me.
But you've migrated to now being, I think, really successful. You think you're in one of the better places in your life right now? I mean, it seems like looking at your media and stuff, dude, it seems like you're living the life right now.
Yeah, dude. I feel good, man, and just jumping into reinventing myself and being more of a voice, because I was really quiet for a lot of years and didn't really talk much.
You think this media thing's a good move for you?
Oh yeah,
doing these shows.
I like the media.
I was going to ask you, how did that come about? How did you get brought onto the Primetime Muscle?
I mean, there's a lot of people they could have chosen, and how did you be the one?
Okay, so just like bodybuilding or just like anything someone want to get into, I started thinking, and I talked about it for like a year. I didn't move on anything or have the opening to do something. So I ended up doing an interview with DJ, and at the end of the thing, he was like, "Hey, you want to do some more of these, or you want to do more of this and this and that? I think it'd be really good if you did." He said, "You got a ton of experience, more so than most people, and I think you'd really be good in this." I was like, "Yeah, I'd like to." And then they said, "Okay, we're going to meet at the Arnold, and we're going to talk more about it, bringing you on more, this and that." So I was like, so we get to Arnold, and they were like, it was kind of something happened to where someone said, "I don't think it'll be good or good fit, or I don't think it's going to work out."
So someone was a hater.
I
you don't have to tell me.
Someone said something, but I just didn't stop
pursuing it.
Yeah, I didn't stop pursuing it, and that's what I wanted to do. And I started doing more stuff. So I thank DJ a lot for that, because he kept
pushing
me involved. Pushing for me, helping me, and getting her to stay involved. And I think when they got to know me more, and got to see me more, get more tape and more stuff, they started to see that I could have some benefits in me being on the show. And I knew they were coming up with another show, and they wasn't going to bring back Sean, and they had Flex, and they had Bob. You're good for that.
How you watched it then, huh?
No, I mean, I always pay attention to what's going on.
Yeah. You go.
I have to. That's
But I
my
don't
job.
remember some shit. I'm gonna look at you.
Yeah.
So and they were gonna just do a different type of format and everything, and but they didn't have an idea subject wise or people wise yet. They brought on Tim Wilkins, who had a lot of good experiences with being emceeing, and he competed before, and all
He
this
did a lot
stuff.
of the backage broadcasts before at the Olympia. Yeah.
So they started with him. Then they brought Tarek on. They were looking for another athlete that can be a good personality on there, and I think just somehow just kept pushing to that's what I wanted to do, and then they said, okay, we're going to pull the trigger with you, bring you on. So I think just going out there and being around those guys, I think they know me more on a personal level now, and I think it's working out. I'd still like to do more and more stuff. I love it.
How often do you film in Arizona for this?
So we finished all the ones already. So we're gonna start up again in January to start shooting again middle of January. So we'll do like 4 segments in one day.
Okay, so
And
so
then,
it gets a month worth of content.
Is that
pretty
how?
much.
How is that? Like, is it?
Oh, it's
grueling?
cool. Oh, yeah, it's tough.
Because it's tough.
My
Like
Cause
how long is it, Chris?
Bro,
like
I
how
mean-
long are the sessions?
We'll do like 15-minute segments
but
straight,
it's a whole
We got a
day, pretty
timer.
much, right?
and then we'll take a break, and then we'll change clothes, and then we'll do another segment. So we come out there with like 4 different outfits.
Yeah.
And
You have the
and then
best
it kinda-
outfits, by the way.
Yeah.
Look at
Yeah,
you.
yeah. You're pulling out some of the club gear.
Yeah.
I see now. I know if you were in crazy shape, you'd have your shirt off. And
You
shit.
damn right. You
Let's
are-
get in shape. And put a Louis tank top.
Whoa. So that's the thing. They said, I could wear the suit thing. So I went and bought all these suits and shit. I was like, man, I'd rather just come in with my own shit, my own gear. Like I'm not really.
So
a
you went
suit
back
guy.
to the store in L.A. that you used to shop in.
With the Melrose.
Yeah. I used to ask Chris, where the fuck do you get these outfits from? And he's like, oh, you go to this store or that.
Yeah, I had it down. But you, Jay. Hey, so yeah, man. So it's funny. I was gonna say back, before Instagram, I just always had like physiques, but the girls I'd have like in my phone thing. I'd be showing Jay, look at this.
He was a terrible influence on my take on
You were
this.
an influencer before influencers.
So I was married.
Yeah.
I was married to a white girl for years, and Chris convinced me to go to
The
the
booty
other
man.
side. Yeah,
You know, it's
Before
funny.
glutes was in, before boots, people like butts. I was already.
he
the
had
original
all
guy.
the magazine. It was like FHM and like I don't know what else was there, but it was always.
Butt man.
Yeah, he always brought. He must have spent like. He had crazy subscriptions to
Buffy
these
the
books.
Body
Yeah,
and
yeah,
Herrera.
bro.
He would bring them all. He'd be like, "Jay, check
Bro,
this
look at
out."
this.
And
Look, Jay.
I'm like, Chris, that's too big. He's like, "What are you talking about?"
No such thing.
Right? Like, Jay, look at that, man. Come
Wait,
on.
Chris is the. I can tell you, like
You're a good, bad influence.
He always had people that were around that always were like his team, right? So we went to guest pose in Hawaii one year, right? So Chris has all these people with him, and the girl actually, instead of coming out, we all guest posed to music. This girl came out and sang a Chris Cormier song. Went for his guest posing. I'm like, Chris, you're the first guy ever to guest pose and brought a female to sing about Chris
And
Cormier.
I'm coming out the back. I'm walking through the crowd like a boxer and shit. That was my thing, yeah, man. But I was telling Jay, man. I'd always tell Jay shit like, you gotta eat this sushi, man.
Yeah,
Eat this
and I'm like,
sushi.
I never wanted sushi, bro, because I was like an East Coaster, and
said, "You gotta
I'm
eat
like,
the
you eat
sushi,
this
man."
raw shit, and Chris was like the first one to get like, and then I became addicted,
Yeah.
You know, the first time I met, he wouldn't have remembered this. I met you at Dre's in 01 at the USA's after party.
That's a shocker.
You had a fanny pack on, and I'm not going to say what else happened, but I was there with Dorian and King Kamali.
Yeah.
And you-
I was there. I remember that.
You walked in with your, and some stuff came out of the fanny pack.
I remember
and-
I was standing against the wall one time. I was like, I'm all sweating. I ain't got no shirt on.
Did you compete in 01 or? I'd say you're like a second to Ronnie Coleman.
Yeah,
remember?
Yeah. It was the one show. Oh, I did not do that one. I think I did an after party though. I did one of the first after parties also. So I don't think people understand how much.
No, you and
how-
Chris.
how-
You know what? I just remember we guest posed in Utah together 6 weeks out of the out of the Olympia in 01. It was 9/11 year.
yeah.
We guest posed. You and I went
But
to
I went-
Utah.
Yeah. but
And then
I-
you went to Mexico or something.
Up to
Got
Mexico,
sick.
yeah. So this what happened in Mexico. I was guest posing, like I had 12 guest spots in Mexico, all back to back.
And it was right before the contest.
Yeah, like it was, but I was ready. I was 282.
You remember you
and
looked
I
great
was-
when we guest
yeah.
posed.
Bro, I was about to come bring some heat, and people was like, "Oh man, this is gonna be the year, this and that." I'm like, "Okay." I said, so I go to Mexico, and so I'm like standing on my cycle. I bought a bunch of GH out there.
Yeah.
I'm traveling around with 2 girls, and we just like playing like I got the volador. That was my song. I was guessing for. I got the volador, right? So I'm just rolling around Mexico, and next thing you know, I was running out of days that I was gonna be there, but I had all this growth, and at the time I didn't realize that if you took too much of that, it's gonna affect your blood sugar level.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. Did you know that? Mm-hmm. So.
I still took a lot though.
My dumb ass. My dumb ass. But I started taking a whole bottle per day.
That was pretty normal.
I'm like, no, it wasn't for me. Jay's all feeling that. I feel
Well, you're still on a bottle a day, you know.
2 or 3. Come on, man. I gotta fit in with the
but I
young
wasn't.
guys.
But I started out really, really low on that shit. Even when I was doing Olympia, I was on 2 IUs, and I started working my up to 4 or whatever. But I was never like a really high in that. So just trying to finish out what I had, so I didn't have to throw it away or give it back. When I should have just kept on track, and everything would have been fine. But dude, so I got to my last one. It was the biggest competition that day, and I left there with no shirt because I get all my photos away. Everybody was done. I even gave my shirt away. I walked out of there with no shirt on, just like strolling out. But that night I had like maybe like 15 grand in my bag, my fanny pack. And I remember going to my room, and next thing you know, the room starts spinning, and then it's just like I went into a seizure.
Like a diabetic.
Hypoglycemic.
Yeah, dude. And the girl that was with me, she came in and found me. She said I was just foaming at the mouth, and I was, body full of sweat. And I remember before I got to that point, I was trying to get sugar. Like I couldn't get enough sugar. So I went downstairs trying to get pancakes. The restaurant wasn't open yet. I started to drink some sodas, and I remember I was just so exhausted. I went back to the room, lay down, and went to a seizure. But then I remember sort of being coherent enough to where when they called the ambulance, they said that they couldn't pick me up. It was these 2 Mexican guys, and they had a little, they were too big. And they had a little small Mexican gurney that was too small for me, my whole body. And so they were just like, "Chris, it's like, you're going to die if you don't get up and walk." And I remember my body, something just told me just like, I stood up and I was just walking, but I was just like staggering through the hallway. And I remember it was blurry, and I can remember seeing some people, but everything was super blurry. I remember getting to the truck, and I just sat there, and then I was just out. And then a couple of days later, I just woke up. But before I woke up, I saw my brother, who was deceased at the time, my grandmother, when I was out. And I thought I was in heaven. I thought I just died and I was just with my family. And then I started to open my eyes because my grandmother told me it wasn't my time. I just went up to her and she said, "It's not your time, Chrissy." She's called me Chrissy. And then I said, "Cool." And I remember I give her like a pound of my grandmother's arm like this. And I woke up, and then there was like all these nurses standing around me in white. And they were all, and the one girl I was with, she was crying, and it was, I thought I was in heaven, but it was nurses in white. So when I opened my eyes, she started telling me all the stuff that happened. And then I was in the hospital in Mexico City for like that week. And every time they take out the glucose that they're putting in my vein, my blood sugar dropped again. And so they put it back in, and then it was down to like a 15 or some shit like that. They said it was crazy. So after getting out of there, most of my money was gone at the time when I woke up. I didn't care because I was just happy to be alive. I had about $5,000 left.
Way to go.
And someone took it.
Why wouldn't they take it all? Why would they just take a little bit?
They probably cared enough. They probably knew me enough to where they better give them a little something, but they took most. So I just went to Cancun. I said, fuck, I'm not. So I thought something was like really wrong with me. So I was like, I'm not even going to try to do the Olympia now.
You bailed.
And but Jim Manuel was like, man, you should just do the show. You're already in shape. And I was just thinking about it. I should have just did it anyway. Would have been a worse off top 3 or top 4.
Do you think you would have beat me or?
I might have beat you. I was big, dude. I was ready to go. You remember? You saw I was looking.
You
pretty
must
good
have been
far
like.
out.
You must have been like shit.
Because I just got my
show.
I just got my gyno out, and I had a different size shaped chest because it rounded my chest out more. I think I was.
Were you surprised when I got second that show, or?
I was, but I saw you. I remember seeing you, and I knew you was ripped because I never saw your head shaped that way before.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I remember your temples were super drawn in.
Yeah, I took a lot of diuretics.
And then just looked like a light bulb, and I was just like, Jay, because that's the thing. We looked at each other's face and head, and that's how we could tell if someone was in shape or not. And Jay was just, I never seen him like that again. But that day, you was just looking like I never saw you before. So just to go up there and do that, and I think that kind of catapulted you to, like, in the judge's eyes, like, now you're the next guy up.
What was your best year ever, you think?
I think the 91 was really, really good combination of everything. Because I remember I went in
99 or 91?
99.
99 Olympia.
Yeah, but then I had a more mature look.
You think you should have beat Flex Wheeler?
I think so.
Second,
so.
yeah.
I think so. I think they do. I think they were just surprised that I looked the way I looked. And even when I was flying to Vegas that year in 99, like every week.
Why?
Just to get up just to dance and to
Party.
get in front of people, just to work on my shyness, because I was so shy. I didn't want to do certain things on stage.
Going to the clubs and taking your shirt off was kind of like your outlet, or?
Yeah, to get past that shyness.
People talked shit about you, though, like you weren't focused and all that. You know that, right?
But
did that bother you, or?
Yeah, because when I went to the gym to train, I would make sure I'd all train everybody. So could I have, but I don't think that was the reason. I think a lot of my personal life and chaos in my personal life, as far as different women or different, like, that's the one thing you had.
I had the stability with the marriage.
Yeah, stability with that. And I think that's another thing Dorian had. And even though he wasn't happy in the marriage, he kept it because he didn't want to change. Of
course, yeah.
And I had people in and out of my life, people coming along that I was still open to, and I think
that weren't the best influence. I'm sure, right?
Not a good influence, and didn't have the same goals. Wasn't a special person, and I just felt like if they knew I was a special person in this universe, that they should have backed off and not tried to fuck with it. I think that's.
Do you think if you would have had some stability, the career would have been different?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Do you think it's something you would suggest to some of your people, like when you train someone, or
for sure,
they have to have that stability and that Groundhog Day effect, right? Day in, day out.
If that's what you're trying to do, that's what you
like. When you got ready for the USA and they did that whole article, like you just were focused on training, right?
Yeah, because I was hell bent on turning pro,
of course,
and I took that really personal that people didn't. They all doubted me, but people doubted everything I was doing up until I shut down the doubts when I took sixth in that first Olympia. But every step I took, people, he's not going to win. He won the Teenage Cowboy. He can't win the Teenage Nationals. Oh, he won the Teenage Nationals. But
I was the same.
He's not going to go pro.
Yeah.
He won the USA, but he ain't going to do good in the pros. Oh, he took sixth in Olympia. Okay. Then they'd be quiet, But that bothered me enough to where it pushed me extra. But like I say, it wasn't going to a club or going to a strip club. That wasn't the determining factor. It was my personal life. That's where I get pissed, because people don't act like I wasn't that guy. I was that dude, and especially when it comes to posing, that's especially when it comes to all that stuff. I was trained for that, trained to be a pro, before I was a professional. I was already a professional, you know, because Gary Stridham and Robbie, all those guys taught me what I needed to know and taught me what I needed to do.
Very focused,
yeah. And, you know, but that's the two people I felt like really pushed that.
Was Dorian Yates unbeatable at his peak?
At his
How
peak,
impressive? Yeah. Tell everyone how impressive he was.
Oh, but people try to look at a video or try to look at whatever, and they try to decide. But if you, dude, like
when being there is different, right? I mean, I'm telling you, Chris. Like I was an amateur, nothing, and I remember going to the Olympia. I went to my first Olympia in '95, and I didn't understand why Dorian won because I didn't think he had the best arms, the best legs, the best chest. But when I saw him come out, I was like, "Holy shit, show's over."
Yeah.
And Sean got second. Nasser was third.
So
95. Was in Atlanta.
So I'm in Atlanta for my first one. So 93, I was there when he won the first one.
That's the year he got huge.
Atlanta. Yeah. That's when he first came out with this new look. And then, but I met Dorian when he was 1990. He was like, "Oh yeah, I want to meet Chris Cormier." So his guy said, "Hey, Dorian wants to meet you." And at the time, I was like, "The fuck, Dorian wants to meet me?" Like, okay. So I went to meet him, and we became friends, and then we became really close. But at my first Olympia, I remember we had the same shoes on. So I remember he was right in front of me. Sean Ray was behind me, and Dorian in front of me. So I'm like, okay, this is my first Olympia. All these good guys are here. I'm like, shit. So I remember walking behind him to get on stage. I remember him going up the stairs.
And what the lats look like, Chris?
And his dude, his lats was so wide. It's like it just went dark. And I just remember that freaked me out. Like I'm going behind him, and all the lights just went out because he went up, and then it was just his lats.
It was not. I mean, he was wide, but you know what was crazy was from the side, his thickness. Right? It seemed like it just was piled on.
Oh man! So I remember you could feel his presence on the stage. That freaked me out too, because I'm like, just like if you hear in the whale is coming behind you, you're gonna feel some type of massive presence behind you coming. That's what I felt with him walking next to me on the stage, and you know that was something, man. But I remember that was something. But to see him and I think because he dyed it year round and he kept his skin so thin that when those fibers and shit hit, like when he went like
Christmas tree and shit,
and then he went boom with the lat spread. Oh man, like no one had that, and that's where the
show was over.
Yeah, it was just shocking to see and to witness. But you gotta be there to appreciate everything.
Was Ronnie Coleman more impressive to you, or was it? You were in the '98 Olympia, right? Mm-hmm. And did you think Ronnie was going to win? Actually, were you shocked?
Yeah, I was shocked because
you had beat him the year before.
But he started to come on in '97.
Well, I did the Night Champions in '98, and he was first, and Kevin was second.
Yeah. So what place did you get?
I got 11th. I tied with Milos.
Oh shit.
He's laughing.
That's Milos's claim to fame. I told him to put it on his Instagram.
No, he beat me at the Ironman, dude. I got third. He was second to you.
I remember.
I told Milos to put it on there. I've defeated a Mr. Olympia.
Well, he also beat Ronnie Coleman.
Yeah,
I
he
think,
did
too. Yeah.
Yeah, but at the Ironman, I remember I went up. They called me up next to him. I remember in his own video, you could see I walked up. I just went all business. And I see Gunther and him look at me like this.
I think Gunther was like fifth or something. I think then, or
yeah, you was a young type.
You know what I was going to ask you? Since you are like the master of posing, what do you think that with the guys posing now? Do they put the type of effort in that you guys did?
I wouldn't say
Classic does, right?
For the most part, but then you would get to ask a person, "Hey, how much time did you put in?" Or, not that much. It's like I'll hear some of that sometimes. And I just think it's a whole nother look that you can drive yourself from 8 weeks out, 10 weeks out to get ready to the show.
This is part of the conditioning too.
It's a whole nother look to the muscle, a whole nother look to the subcutaneous fluid between the muscle and the skin, and the control. And like I say, it's also isometric, so you're still getting a different shape. You're still working all the muscles at one time. And if you get used to working all those muscles at one time, you're going to start finding more poses that you can hit that normally.
I've always wondered why these guys, like anyone in general for any of the divisions, they spend all this money dieting and they hire a coach and it costs thousands of dollars to travel to the shows and all these costs, but they won't hire a posing coach. And it's not what you have, it's what you show.
Well, we don't get judged.
Well, they spent all the money on the gear.
Yeah, well,
Again, but if you do all that and if you look like, if you can't present it, what good is it?
Do you think it's a travesty that the posing round is not included now? I mean, I know they judge the body, not like how someone can dance or whatever else, but do you agree with how now the judge, like we used to do quarter turns, Chris, and that counted, right? The symmetry round.
I like the quarter turns.
Because you would kill people on the symmetry.
Yeah.
Like that was points for you.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a different, it became different because they changed it even when you were still in the game.
Yeah.
But I feel like that was a good, you had a good idea who was going to do what, with that first round, And I think in a sense, it made you better for the next round because you sweat a good amount of water out and your body can change for the better in that first thing. And then you go to posing. It's not like now you go, everyone's or whatever backstage, but it's not a whole lot of time for your body to change when you go straight to that that round where you're doing some poses, some quarter turn. But I think it can dry. You can dry out a bit.
I used to watch a lot of videos of you and Flex, like you guys would do your quarter turns in the gym leading up to. Remember the '99 Olympia DVD,
right.
and you guys were practicing, and like I'd spend, the last 6 weeks doing quarter turns and posing. Like I would do 2 or 3 rounds a day, those last 6 weeks to kind of, so I wouldn't shake and whatever else. But you're noticing like some of these new guys, they were kind of, looking at Michael Crizzo, who Crizzo is. He was shaking a little bit at his first pro win that he just had in Prague. So he's going to come prepared to the Olympia because this may be the most, like we talk about competitive Olympia in a certain range of athletes, right? Mm-hmm. So they're going to work the hell out of them.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's not going to be a single call-out show.
But also, when you did your first Olympia, you almost get like extra winded.
Yeah. Well, you
I don't know if it's a mental thing or what, but you like extra winded. It's almost like you're running wind sprints. And that feeling, So, but I think Crizzo kid is not doing everything he needs to be doing as a champion. That's what I see right now. Do you think,
like, how do you feel Andrew Jacked or Michael? These are the two new guys, right? And they're first.
Tall.
Yeah, I haven't.
And Samson's in his first one. Like,
was it?
Right?
No, he did last year.
Who did?
Wasn't Samson?
No, Samson's first one.
No, it is. Okay.
Yeah.
His first one, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know.
And some of these guys, I reach out to some guys, just when I see people that's prominent or could use a little something.
A little push.
Yeah, I kind of like reach out to them, I DM them and stuff and go, hey, man, look at, if you hit that shot this way or that way, it's going to
makes a huge difference.
Yeah, so I do that with, some guys will tell you that they don't mention it out, but, a lot of guys, I guarantee you can say, yeah, Chris hit me up when you saw me doing that stupid
If I was coming to the Olympia, I would be reaching out to somebody.
Yeah.
Well, remember, some guys are too proud to do that. But who do you feel? Who do you feel? Have you made a prediction on this Open Olympia yet? Like, if they asked you on any of these, it's hard to pick. Do you think it's going to be the same top 5 or 6 that last year was present? So you had like Rami, Brandon Curry, Hadi Chupin.
I could pick 3 in and 3 new at this point. It's almost like a race when you're seeing the horses are coming. He's coming around and going, and it's sort of like that, getting ready for the show.
So who would you say, like Rami, Brandon, and
William?
And what about Hadi Chupin? He'll be up there too, right?
Up in there, yeah. And it's just. And
what do you think, Hunter? And you were working with Hunter a little bit. How's Hunter looking this year?
I just kind of like did some little posing a little bit with him when I went over that. I don't know. He's got this look. He's never placed bad. That's the thing with Hunter. He's never got placed.
He's got crazy shape, Chris.
Yeah, never got placed bad. I know that he figured out his
full-time bodybuilder. What's up?
G-Money.
Dave Bourla's in the house. Yeah. He's got snacks.
So what do you like? Do you think Hunter can hold forth, or can he get better, or is he gonna?
It's gonna be around there because you got some older guys.
I know, but William's looking better this year, dude. So is William gonna take someone's spot because he was 6th?
Yeah. So William's gonna do better for sure.
He's pretty confident right now.
For sure, he's gonna do better. And
Who do you imagine in the first call out? How about we say that?
Oh, you know what I would do? I would take, no matter where I place people, I'd take all the rival people and all the people.
I know, but
mix
dude,
them in there.
you're talking like 12 guys.
I
Like,
know.
I
I'm
mean-
just saying for the first one, I would just come out and like,
I know, but this Michael Crizzo guy is like he's big, dude.
Jay saw him pose.
Lately?
He's big. No, but I mean, it was a while ago. But he's a big. He's not.
He improved since he came to Venice.
And he's a
at
big.
Vegas
He
that
takes
time.
like he's wide and he's.
I
he's
like
pretty
his front
impressive.
way more than his
Of
back.
course, yeah, but
So, with that being said, you know, did he do the due diligence with the posing? Because I saw him coming unglued a little bit. It looked like I don't know if
very
it's just the way
challenged.
they portrayed it or whatever, but just from what people tell me that's met. I want to see these guys close up because I never even met Andrew Jack yet.
Yeah.
I even offered my help to him because I think that he can use a little bit of my help, and I feel like
Dave, have you seen Andrew
what
Jack?
is that? Yeah.
And was he covered up though, right? Yeah. He said he was covered
Yeah.
up. He was in a snowsuit.
Yeah.
Jay used to always say that.
Yeah.
Sean's in a snowsuit.
Shit.
If you could name one guy that you think's that could move up and just really shake it up?
Said
who would it
William,
be?
yeah.
Well, William's
What-
been established. I'm
I
saying a
think
newer guy.
I think Lunsford can.
yeah.
Are you impressed with him?
Yeah, for sure. And he's
He's with
another one.
Hani. I
He's
mean,
another
Hani
one.
doesn't miss much,
He's
right?
he's the wrestle, and I think Lunsford never really had a good chance of peaking.
How do you think he
properly.
looked in Pittsburgh against those guys? Crazy, right? We were in
Crazy,
Pittsburgh
crazy.
together.
Yeah, because
Was he the most impressive there? Probably, right?
Yeah, and to be that far out and to be dialing it in from there, and like I don't.
He was
I
in
think,
good shape.
And I thought it was I think it was gonna be. That day was decided that he was gonna be in the open that day.
Yeah, I mean, Steve told me he'd be a fool to drop back down to
Right.
212, you know?
yeah.
But he didn't have the invitation yet,
Dude,
right?
but I think because the way his body's set up, that waist line with that,
the lats.
his pecs was like this long down his body with great abs, and he improved his
Itty bitty
back.
waist, flaring
Yeah, grabbed his
quads.
back. Yeah, it's like he's like a little Bennett Smith Comfort.
I mean,
type
he
looking
could
dude.
almost be second in this show, I think. Like, we don't know. Could he win it? I don't think the first time out.
I don't know about winning it, but do I think he can be surprisingly in the mix? Hell yeah, surprisingly in the mix.
I think one or two guys that are really high up are going to get their feelings hurt this year.
Yeah, and it happens.
one of
and
the
it's
new
good.
guys.
And it's good. I think it's
I like-
good
it's
for
good
the
for the
sport.
sport.
Are you doing anything for this Olympia, like commentary? Are you?
Yeah, man.
What are you doing?
Your
Tell
boy
me.
is backstage.
He's talking shit.
Huh? Are you with Phil
I'll
Heath
just,
or?
no, I'm gonna be with Fit Rockstar, but I'm in the backstage doing the top 3 of the categories.
Okay.
So Friday and Saturday I'll be backstage, and then my first year heavily in the media, I'm really excited about the chance to be able to be more involved like that, because that's what I wanted. You don't do this just to be some regular whatever. You want to do it to the highest level, and that's been my goal, is to get as involved as I can, and because I still I'm a huge fan of the sport still, and I want to see the guys get better and better, and I put my personal time into it. I don't want it more so than somebody else wants it, but I still want to help people.
And you promote the Chris Cormier Classic, right?
Yeah, I've been doing that the last few years.
Wisconsin.
I want to. Yeah,
That's where I'm from.
I want to do.
You want to do more shows?
Yeah, I want to do one in Palm Springs where I'm from.
Yeah, it'd be
I want to
good.
do one there. I want to do one in Brazil if I can. I got a big fan base out there. I think it'll be really.
What about the Middle East?
Yeah, I don't know if I'll be able to do it out there, but I think what's doable is Palm Springs, and doable in Brazil.
You work with a lot of women though, too, right?
Not a whole. I mean, I kind of backed down just because I got more involved in the media side of it, and
Do you like the training, or do you want to kind of step away from the day in, day out of training?
Yeah. I want to lessen that to special projects more so. Not just I'm standing in the gym waiting for the next client to come through and trying to bargain, or I'm going up against every Joe Blow in the gym that's trying to put a special price. I don't want to be like that, and I want to be more so on getting information out and still inspiring and motivating the next generation, but also like I said before, if I can get the app going to where I could put my thoughts out
You need
there,
to do your own podcast.
that's what I want. That's
You
another
should.
one.
Cormier's Corner.
That's another one. That's why I'm looking at all your equipment in here and seeing what the fuck I got to do.
Well, Chris hit me up about a bunch of times. He said, "I'm coming to Vegas. I want to be
Yeah.
on." You told me
I
quite
wanna
some
be
time
on.
ago.
No, I remember him
so-
telling me. I said, "All right,
Yeah.
I want to
because
do
I
it.
told like I told you we don't if it's got to be in person.
Yeah,
So,
and we got to do another one. This can't be
Yeah.
the only one
yeah, no,
because we got a lot of shit to talk about.
no. I want to get you and Milos on here so you guys can argue.
yeah,
That'd be great. Post when do you leave after the Olympia?
that's Sunday night late.
Oh damn!
Sunday
If you're
night.
here longer, we'd have to do a
I'll come
post
back.
Olympia.
I'll come back out, dude. I'm not.
We'll get him
Says
out.
he's going to. How do you like San Diego?
I love San Diego.
San Diego, I think, is the best place in the world to live.
I
Right?
love
I'd be
San
broke
Diego.
if I lived there.
No, you're
Oh,
right.
it's
I know.
good out there, dude. It's good.
Chris
food.
is living a good life. He's going to the hotels.
he's got
eating
all the
the
money.
meals.
I'm broke.
Food, good food.
Yeah.
They got the good beaches, and the people are super nice down there. People are really friendly down there. You notice that?
Yeah.
Like they'll talk to you whether they know you or not.
Well, the
down
gym
there,
you train at's
know?
got so much energy.
I love that gym
mean,
too.
it's just,
That's
Yeah.
one of the better gyms in our country.
They got both our posters side by side. Do you see that one?
yeah.
Jay. Jay is funny.
Yes.
Hey man, but I always liked you, man. I respect you a lot, Jay. And man, you got your shit going on, dude. I'm really happy for you, man. Seriously.
Well, man, I'm happy to see that you're getting out there and doing a lot
Yeah.
for our sport, because I think that, you know, like I said, you were such a great inspiration to me, and then we became kind of, you know, like I said, rivals, and, you know, you
Hey,
kind of mentored me.
It was
and
fucked up when you beat me in 04, man. I got to
I know,
tell you,
I
that
know,
was
yeah.
fucked up. Dude. I was like, wait a minute.
I felt bad about
I did.
that.
I'm like, I did what I was supposed to do. I stayed home extra. I did all. I crossed all my T's, dotted all my I's, and whatever I was supposed to do. And I was just like, okay.
It's the
And-
cornrows that hurt. No,
and
that
Jay-
was 02. That was 02. Yeah.
And Jay went for a leaner look, and I was like, man, I came in bigger than I've been. He came in smaller than he's been. And so I was like, man, well, if I ain't got it this year, it ain't gonna happen, you know. So then, but it was good though, because the whole year I'm like, I gotta get Jay, man.
Chris, I mean,
gotta get
Dave, why are you shaking your head yes over there? You're supposed to be my biggest cheerleader.
I was in the
Gold, and then Max Muscle
Max
Venice.
Muscle with Dave, and then
That was 05.
we got 05. Oh, with Dexter. Bro, I should have been.
So Cormier used to sleep on Dave's. Actually, you were
Yeah, I
the
just
entertainment.
take
You
my
played
naps over
PlayStation.
there.
What'd you play? What'd you have PlayStation? There?
Yeah, he's a cheat in boxing and shit.
Did you?
I don't know why he was cheating.
Hey, did
man.
you beat him or did he beat you?
I beat you a lot.
What?
Who beat the most? What?
You, he said he
Dave,
beat
don't
him.
you come in here lying. Dave's a liar, man. I
You
didn't
know what
he's
I
a
think we need to
liar.
do next time? We're bringing it in. We're setting it up, and y'all are playing again.
How much time did you spend at Max Muscle Venice? You think?
All day.
Really?
Yeah.
And you'd eat fresh to go
I
next
had
door.
to
and-
help him sell shit sometimes.
I didn't. You know, you told me something, Dave. He worked at GNC. You probably didn't know this.
He could have been your top
I
salesman.
was before I turned pro, yeah. But even before I turned pro, man, after the Mike Tyson thing, after the
Why don't
Oh,
you
yeah,
tell what
tell-
happened with
yeah,
Mike
tell-
Tyson?
tell
What
the
happened?
story. Tell the story.
Tell the Mike Tyson story.
this is like
Have you heard this story before? Or? Okay.
This is 92, and I'm training for the USA for 93, and then he came in with
Roxbury.
like 15 people with him, 20 people with him, and at the time, he had to have been juiced out of his mind. He had to. I mean, his neck was like this big, and his head was just as big.
Bigger than ours?
Just as big, yeah. The circumference of everything was just like a bulldog. And I was like, damn. So the guy introduced me to him, the owner of the club. Met him and stuff. He had a line going out the VIP room with all girls. And, back then we just had the little black books, to put numbers in and stuff. But he had like a yellow tablet. You know that yellow tablet thing?
Yeah.
They would write on the yellow tablet two and three rows of girls' numbers. And that's why I know for a fact, I don't know, I shouldn't say it now, but I don't think he got in trouble that way. I don't think he had to do something to
Yeah, I
a
know
girl
what you're
that
talking
didn't want to do. And then but all the people that were with him, some were unruly, he probably had some goons with him, or somebody they were ready to get down if they needed to. But when everything was over outside, they had some limos, a limo, Rolls Royce, and some Harleys, just all in line. So I'm standing by the limo, and some girl was like saying, "I can't believe you work for this guy and this and this and that. I said, I don't work for Mike Tyson. I'm security here at the club. Next thing you know, bam. And I turn around like, motherfucker. Like that. And it was Mike Tyson standing there. I'm like, oh.
He hit you in the head.
Yeah, in the back of the head.
Like a slap or?
It was like a slap, but it felt like a brick. So
Yeah.
just understand that part. It was pretty hard. And it just stunned me for a minute, but then I'm just raging at that time because I'm just ready to go right now. I'm ready to go, and it don't really matter who it is or what's gonna happen. You're just ready to go right now. And so he said, I said, motherfucker. And it's like, he's all, he told me to do it. The guy next to him, right? I'm like, this motherfucker. He was like, he goes, well, what you want to do? And he started doing this whole thing like this at me, and he's creeping up on me like this.
Who
and
was Mike or the friend?
Mike.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he did that left and right shit on me.
Yeah.
That shit, I'm like, and his head is moving so much, I'm like, I'm not gonna be able to hit that for sure. But it's like with my wrestling background, that's not. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna shoot in. I'm gonna pick up. I'm just picturing what I'm gonna do, but I'm taking some steps back because he's coming, and then all these people rushed in between us, and then Flex and Rico, and I'm looking like, okay, where's everybody? What's gonna, I'm just trying to piece out what's gonna go down. And then, about time they got here, Flex and Rico, everybody, kind of just split us up, and they said, "Oh, you want to press charges? You want to sue him, like that?" And I was just like, "No, I don't want to sue him. I just wanted to get a lick back. I just wanted to hit him back this one time. That's all I need. I don't care if it's a jab or something. I just wanted something out of it." And then I was just pissed the whole week because I wasn't used to somebody just doing that and me not being able to do nothing. And then the weird part is we went to go look for him the next weekend. That's where shit got weird. Because then, I don't know if I'm just full of tests or I'm something, but I wanted to confront the situation still. And so we went to Larry Parker's in Beverly Hills. And we went out, but we didn't work that day. We wanted to try to go find Mike.
Yeah.
Have a conversation. And so I know it's a short list of people who's actually done that, but we did that. And Rico was with me and this other guy, Mike, Zandy, I think, and another guy. So we went in there, and then he comes in with all his crew. So we're like, okay, we're gonna antagonize him, right? We gotta have some kind of conversation. So they were showing him fighting, and when he had got knocked down, when he was trying to pick the mouthpiece back in his mouth, we just laughing our ass off out loud. And there's nobody in the restaurant laughing but us, and we're just laughing, and we just look back at him. And we just laugh. And then he goes, shit happens. Like that. That's exactly what he said. He said, shit happens. Like he just shrugged his shoulders. And then, but when he went to go to the bathroom, he walked by our table. And Rico's like, hey, man, why you slap my homeboy like that last week? And he was just like, he's a big guy. He can take it. Like that. That was my apology, I guess. Because that's as far as it got. Because after that, I said, okay, I guess that's as much sorry as I'm gonna get at this point. But then it just kind of relieved but I had a lot of pressure, like I had to do something. Like it's gotta.
So he acknowledged you, and that was enough for you.
Yeah. So I just kind of let it go after that. But then I met him maybe like 5 times, shaking his hand 5 different times after that. He never act like he ever met me before.
Yeah.
And I'm just always like, you know me, man. If you see my face one time, you're gonna know me again. So yeah, that was the story in its entirety. And
you became the real deal instead.
Yeah. So I turned pro the next year, but he went through all his stuff, and I still was a fan of his and him and Holyfield, and more so Holyfield, but I still admire what he did, and he's still motivational still to this day. Oh, good.
You got to be on his podcast.
I like to go on his podcast,
yeah.
Smoke a joint, and talk about that shit.
Tell the story.
Yeah, he probably don't remember.
I was looking for you.
Yeah, I was looking for you. But but seriously, I heard him talk a lot of times, and I think that he was about that. He wanted to show people that he was. I don't know. He probably saw how I looked, and he was probably like, "I'm going to show this guy with a few alcohol, a little bit of alcohol-driven actions behind it." But I'm sure he just wanted to see what I was about.
You're a nice guy, so it's what else? What else do we want to talk about?
I mean, I think we've touched on everything. We just want to, get you on here and get the first one out the way, and then when you come back out,
doesn't want to make his predictions for the top 6.
No, because none of us do. Because
my next podcast is going to be my predictions for the top 6, which I've been dreading doing because
people be getting attitude.
Well, it's tough, man, because it's like I think the same thing. I think there's going to be some sliders in there,
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, I think the real 5th through 20 is going to be the real competition.
It's crazy.
I'm just wondering how many people are going to be in the first call out.
7.
Yeah, I was going to say 6 to 8.
That means a big name's going to get left off.
Are you going to watch on backstage, or are you going to watch it from the?
I want to go.
TVs
front.
look different.
I want to go in front and see.
Everyone looks crazy on the TVs,
I'm gonna be able to slide back and forth. So I got my medium badge.
Have you seen the theater yet? Have you bought it yet?
It's amazing.
First time, I haven't.
I'm liking everything so far, though. I'm liking everything so far.
So you're staying in a nice suite at the hotel, and
working with the right people, man. Shit, I got different.
Are you eating good while you're in Vegas, or
Yeah.
is Sean Ray going to buy you a dinner? Is the question.
That's the question of a lifetime.
Yeah.
Bro, you know what I mean? You know how long he had me in that fucking popcorn machine? Bro, when we were teenagers, he used to slide that shit on me. Oh man, I forgot my wallet, man. Damn. We'd be at the Sizzler and we go.
Sizzler was great. Dude.
Oh yeah,
I loved Sizzler. When I moved to California, I couldn't. I mean, Dennis Newman used to tell me, "You got to try out Sizzler." And I went there thinking it was like a high-end place. It was very cheap, but it was really good. Like for bodybuilding, it was good because you could get the salad bar and all that. You like Sizzler, Dave, right?
Dennis was gonna be good though, right? Damn, he used to scare me, that dude.
Yeah.
Right? I used to be like, man, I'm gonna have to mess his head up or some shit just to like.
He could have been one of the
I
greatest.
just knew he wasn't mentally strong. That's one thing I found out, that he wasn't mentally strong, but he had the physique. But his mindset was not gonna be one that's gonna be for the long haul. It was more like what he kind of did. I even waited for his ass at the USA weigh-ins just to say something to him.
Well, he was late, I think, showing up.
He was late.
Yeah,
I was waiting. I waited like 2 hours waiting for him.
He ended up 7th that year you won, though.
Yeah.
I remember he was the talk of
But
the
after
town,
we became friends, like after we competed.
you guys were close at one point.
Yeah. I said, did that fuck with you when I was doing that? He's like, yeah, oh yeah. Man. He said, I was fucked up. Why you do that?
Yeah.
I said, I had to. You was too much of a threat. I had to try to do something.
That's funny. Well, listen, we appreciate you coming on. I hope we'll run into each other this weekend, and like I said, we'll get up on it, and we wish you the best success.
Thank you.
People want to find you.
Yes, hit me up
best way.
on -- Chris Cormier on IG.
We'll link it on the bottom.
Yeah, and ComPeak sponsored Java Labs.
With Weider.
Yeah,
Weider's great, dude.
Weider great. Yeah, Weider the great.
What about this shirt? Are you still selling these?
Oh yeah.
Where can we get those?
You can just hit me up on the DM right now with my.
I know you still got some in stock. You sent me a pink one, which I appreciate. I should have worn it today.
Come
What
on,
a dick you
Jay.
are. Why didn't you wear a shirt?
Damn, dude, I got one of your pig shirts. A pig hat.
But Chris was the original guy in the gym. He has a Louis Vuitton bag here. With all his.
Vuitton, dog.
Yeah.
But
He was the
y'all gotta get
original.
one of these, dog. You ain't got one of these, man. You ain't cool like that.
So yeah, we appreciate you so much, man, and we look forward to having you back on.
Yeah, let's do it again sometime, man.
Of course.
Appreciate you, Jay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt, for making it happen.